What's going on, y'all? It's J Smo Reviews here, back at it again with another video, man, bringing you guys my full predictions for URL's NOME 15, going down, I think, in 4 days from now, so going down this weekend, and we'll be streaming to watchbattlelive.com. So we are getting a stream for NOME. I know there was rumors, especially with how Smack and Beasley have kind of talked about streaming, their opinions on it, the bootlegging situations, and how that would work going forward. But it will be going down to watchbattlelive.com, which has not gotten a stream, I think, from URL since 2019. I'm not sure. When I logged onto the link at first, it popped up with royalty, which is funny considering all this twerk and av stuff that I think Volume 5 and royalty, probably the last times watchbattlelive.com got used. So we'll see how the stream goes this weekend with that. But I've been waiting. I've kind of on other platforms given my opinions a little bit on what I think of some battles, but here are going to be my final and definitive predictions here before the big night of battles. And with all that being said, let's start from the bottom of the card. So first battle of the night, and I would also add the most well-promoted battle on the entire card, Ununice versus Chess, which is such a classic archetype, especially for a NOME or an SM level card. You have an up-and-coming star or a potential up-and-coming star, and the lead star at that. So all this conversation about Ununice, can he do it? Can he rise to the next level of top tier or be a day in, day out, smaller card and bigger card type of talent for URL versus the more veteran-like battler in Chess? And then Chess at home as well. This is truly Chess's home. When he opens it, it will be truthful, being that it is in New York. And I talked a little bit about it during the announcement video about how Chess battled T-Rex for a round on the big stage in New York, but he really didn't get to, because of the fight and then that battle getting moved, obviously, to still a really good battle in that dirty volume setting that they did. I love that setting, but he didn't get to have that full I'm back in New York 3 rounds on home ground type of performance, and it looked like he was on his way to possibly having 3 rounds like his first. But I'm sure there's some stored up just pride, motivation there to be able to now deliver that full 3-round performance. And of course, all the pressure, there is pressure on Chess because that he also adds to himself, being as inconsistent as he is, that one of the most prolific choking and losing to other top tier battle rappers of all time. But the pressure's got to be on Ununice. Chess has proven that he can do this before. For all the critiques you can give, everything you can poke at his career, there's a full career to go through. Ununice has to build that before you can get to the point of critiquing it amongst the other elites. So he needs to do things like show out on a big stage in New York and prove that he can be trusted in the toughest opportunities, the biggest ticket selling opportunities. It's going to be the most people he's ever rapped in front of. It's going to be one of the most hostile crowds he's ever rapped in front of. Not just being in New York and having a prove it battle, which New York will know, and they will make him earn the reaction if he's going to have a great night, but also the fact that he's going against the hometown favorite in Chess. So there's so many things I've said advantage wise that goes against Ununice, but my prediction comes down to 2 things here, and it's one, I believe in hunger. We talk about the motivation for Chess, but if the guy with the most pressure should be the hungriest, Ununice wants this. He's got aspirations. He's had dreams of making it to a top level in battle rap. Everything you get through, going to the spaces, live on smaller leagues, then 1 or 2 years till URL really ends up picking you up, and then you deal with wins and losses and the people that don't like you and do like you and all that. It all meets up to this moment. If he pulls it off on this one and he's great in this battle, he's next level. He gets to be in that conversation of getting run against all the top tiers and all the main stage events. That's very important. And 2, I just do not predict Chess. He's choked in too many battles. He has thrown up. He's done something where when it seems like I should be the most confident in him, he just somehow loses the battle. Sometimes he's not even that good. I thought he's going to beat Luke Castro. He just lost, just flat out. So with that being said, I do have Ununice 2-1 edge. It would be a battle that if it's kind of funny, I'd say Chess is more likely to 30 Ununice. But since I don't see the battle being a 30, I see a world where maybe a couple slips here and there, or just being able round placement wise to match, Ununice's best round matches up against Chess's best round, and I just see a world where Ununice can get the 2-1 edge, and I believe what he's doing, and I believe he's going to make the most of this opportunity. So I know I explained why all the advantages might go against Ununice, but sometimes you just got to go with your gut. That's how I'm predicting it. Then from there, we can talk about Miss Hustle versus T-Top. Ununice and Chess is one I had some, extended thoughts on. I have much less for Miss Hustle versus T-Top. I do think this is going to be a lopsided battle. I've been pretty vocal about not liking the matchup that much, and I'll explain again. It is not that Miss Hustle shouldn't be on NOME or T-Top shouldn't be on NOME. Just thought there was better matchups. There's all this convo about Jazz Hustle, and I know Yoshi had made some comments. I'm not going to go down that whole rabbit hole, but even Miss Hustle versus Prestavia, which just got unbooked. I don't know why it was booked as a one-rounder on whateverness battle league, but I would have been ridiculously excited to see Hustle and Prestavia pop up. And it's not that Prestavia is a bigger name than T-Top by any means, more of a legend, but that's where the static is, female versus female matchup. So I would have loved pretty much either of those. And then for T-Top, I would have even taken T-Top versus Kid Slade. I know some people are still unhappy with Kid Slade, but I think he's still a good talent. There's a lot of people that still want to see him get pushed. He's been booked in so many opportunities, like a small room versus Twerk. What is he going to do? Big stage in New York, which he's rocked. T-Top battle, which the styles match up well. Be a little bit of an angle fight. I just saw better avenues for this battle to go. But with all that being said, I think the matchup's tough for T-Top. I think he's been hit or miss as of recently. Choking, stumbling. I'm sure he'll care about this battle more than he's cared about some of his recent battles, but there's nothing in Miss Hustle's game that tells me that she's going to lose this. She's going to be at home in New York. She's been on New York for, I think, as recent as the homecoming performance versus Arsenal, where I had her whooping on Ars. He choked all 3 rounds. I think her third was a little cringy. And maybe she'll leave the door open for T-Top to possibly get around. But for the most part, I could see this not just being a 2-1 clear. Could be a flat-out 3-0 for Miss Hustle. Better performer at home. I trust her form more recently. Like I said, not a matchup I care about too much, but one where I see a battler that's like looking like she's in the second prime of her career, and I see a T-Top who was good last year, but even then, battle to battle, has an round or not an all-out 3-round insane performance. Now we could talk a little bit about Jay the Nightwing versus RumNiti, which is such an over-the-top, elite writing matchup in a situation where writing, I would say, is, I'm not going to say one of the most least important, but not like an emphasized situation on the big stage in New York. And it's going to be one of the first, when we talk about Jay the Nightwing here, it's going to be one of the first of 3 different UM1 talents on this card. I have a bigger point about that, but we'll talk about that a little bit more later into the card. But Jay is more than deserving of this, and if we took the two of the top 5 years, I think, that's going on in 2025 right now in battle rap is included in this battle with Jay and Nitty, and I think Jay is probably an early front runner for Champion of the Year right now. He's just bleeding Battle of the Nights. Battle of the Night versus Sheed. Battle of the Night, and in my opinion, Battle of the Year as of right now versus Ill Will. Battle of the Night versus TRock. He's being elite and having debatable fights with elite versions of some of the best that the game has to offer. And now he ends up taking RumNiti. So he's been on a warpath, and then Nitty's just been having another RumNiti-esque year where we have to talk about him and some of the better battle rappers in the world conversation. The Daylight win was big. I had him beating Snake Eyes. That was one of the better battles on the T-Top's card, but I had him winning. His performance versus Elijah Straight was good. He's booked versus Calico on Bulletproof. Like, he's going to have the resume. It's a matter of his quality follows through. It usually does. And like I said, it's 2 of the better years in battle rap. Now, I said, writing heavy battle. New York, it's going to take more than that to adapt to this stage. Now, Nitty has did it before. It has been a long time since he's been on the big stage in New York, though. I think the last time he was versus TRock on NOME 6, which was about 9 years ago, I think it was. And he's a totally different battle rapper. It's probably one of the more disappointing battles he had in his career, considering how much he built up to the Rock battle and what that was supposed to be from both sides. It really just wasn't that good of a battle from either of them. So I'm sure he's going to have some extra motivation. It's all these years later. He's a completely different battle rapper. He was very good back then. He's in best in the world conversations now. And then that really puts the pressure on Jay, right? Who kind of, even though he's done more in his career than a Ununice, all of these UM1 guys are still in a bit of a prove-it situation because they haven't done it on the New York big stage where a lot of these legends really grew up at and made their legendary status from. So I worry a bit with Jay because of that writing-heavy style. So pen-heavy, so complex. It's great, but you're going to have to adapt on a big stage in New York. There's going to be a base of that's kept because that's what makes him special, but there's going to have to be some moments that are more moment-based, performance-based, or keeps the crowd along. But why I also think Jay's going to do good in this battle is I always say he's got a little bit of like a Pat Stay-esque good style to his game. He's always been the slow pace, the relax, the Mad King and the quiet intros, but he's also got a little bit of charisma, some comedy that he does just in his own subtle way. And I think that will need to be turned up to the maximum for a battle like this, where not only is that already a tough opponent you're going against that's going to have almost a set haymaker count that he's going to hit per round, but you have to give something different that could even nullify that or match that energy. So there's just so many different ways to view it. I think it's going to be a good battle. I am going RumNiti 2-1, clear at that. Just think it'll be tough for Jay to fully turn the crowd on him in this situation. Being that it's so long since they've seen Nitty, it'll probably still be earlier in the night. That favors a puncher matchup-wise. I think Jay will do good enough to get one round. If he wins, I'll be a little bit surprised, not overly, because look at what his year has been. But I think Nitty is just a safe bet in this situation. And then from there, we can talk John Dodon versus Fonz. I won't give the whole spill of the grudge, but this is probably the most genuine grudge match on the card. Year and a half of interviews against each other, face-offs after battles, tweets about each other. Promo, just full promos cut. They've been going at it even more recently, and it's all competitive. Like, it feels like there's real disdain, but on a battle rapper level. And it's a classic style matchup of a power puncher versus the all-around battler, which John has been in many times in his career, and more times than not, he does good versus the punchers. Big K, one of the bigger wins of his career, also in a grudge match in New York. He beat RumNiti in a volume. There's not too many other. I know Twerk kind of got the better of him, obviously, in Atlanta, so it's not a perfect record, but those are big wins to your name. And he's talking spicy. He thinks he's going to completely expose Fonz. I think he underrates a bit what Fonz's big stage work has been. Beat Suge in Houston. That was a grudge match. Good look for him. Nitty in Orlando was only it was 400 people, which is like a good crowd. Definitely not this, but that was another big milestone match, and he was fantastic in that. So he showed up in his biggest battles. He showed up on bigger stages. So John definitely shouldn't sleep like Fonz and won't know how to control the stage, but being an all-around tactician, and similar to Jay versus Nitty, similar to Ununice versus Chess, he's done it in New York so many times. Fonz has not done it in New York at the highest level. With that being said, though, I think there's just so much material right now to work with. There's so many angles to go against John. I think that Fonz is one of the most creative guys, not just as a puncher, but punching on a topic, punching on an angle. So he won't just be using, it's not bars versus substance. He's going to be pulling topics that the crowd is going to know from, trying to do character assassination, and it's on John to try to diffuse that. He's had 10 months off, and when he was last battling, he was fantastic last year. So this battle is going to be debatable, in my opinion. I don't think there will be a flat-out winner, even though how I usually feel about grudge matches. But I am going Fonz 2-1 because of that creativity with the character assassination. The fact that he is a puncher, that is the basis of his style, but you can't say he's just saying punches when they're so tailored to the competitor, and there's just so many topics on John. Can he win the battle? Absolutely. It's why I'm calling it debatable. He's known for winning in these types of situations, but this is just the belief I have in Fonz as a talent right now, and I do think he is going to seize the opportunity on NOME 15. And then 2 more battles for the card, and this next one is not officially the main event, but for many, it feels like it is most people's main event. It is the battle, the announcement I saw get the most love, and that is TRock versus Real Sick. And somebody said it best, I think I said it in the other video, it's a battle of 2 110%ers. They're just always going to go above and beyond in their performances, and they're on a warpath towards each other. And Sick's been calling out Rock for so long, has been so specific about it. I think in a lot of ways this battle is similar to Jay the Nightwing versus RumNiti. A little bit more pop to it because Real Sick's run over the last few years is so much, I think, more documented. And then you have a TRock who is the defending champion of the year. So that adds the extra to it. But I think, Jay the Nightwing, the warpath he's been on, and RumNiti, those are 110%ers as well. I think that's why those 2 announcements have gotten so much love from the community. But like I said, Rock and Sick is just the bigger battle right now. There's more pressure on it. And I cannot wait to see what Real Sick does in this situation, because as good as he's been, has not lost clear in a plethora of years now. More often than not, he's winning battles clear as well. But this is going to be by far the toughest situation that he's been in. He is going to be taking TRock on a big stage return to New York at a time that TRock, still looks like prime TRock. And I just don't think everyone was around in 2015 when this guy was untouchable in New York. That crowd, even if you feel like he lost the battle, he was gassed after the fact. I remember all the debates of like real vivid debates about TRock being gassed after the DNA battle, after the Sioux Surf battle, and just the way that city melts for him. That is a tough situation, and TRock is going to be fantastic because he is one of those battlers that creates his own motivation. I've already seen him. Anytime you've seen me in New York, expect 10 times that. Now, is that drama as well to help sell the battle? Is that a little bit of hyperbole? Of course, but I really think he's locked in. He just won Champion of the Year in year like 15 or 20, obviously, so that you cannot question his motivation, his skill level, and it's almost... it's not a home game, but it's almost basically a home game, especially versus a guy like Fonz, like Jay the Nightwing, like Ununice, that hasn't done it on a big stage in New York. Because Sick obviously has accomplished battling on bigger stages. He had growing pains with the Shine battle, but look at how his performance versus Diz was. This is far from disaster, though, brother. And I think that while Real Sick is amazing, pound for pound, a top 10 battle rapper in the world, some people put him in that top 5, even best in the world conversation. But I think the explosiveness of TRock is going to be a little bit too much for him. I could see Sick still being great, it being battle of the night, even with a clear winner. I just think the one thing for Sick is even those advantages that he usually has, like just the straight rapping ability, that has now become one of the biggest strengths in TRock's game as well. What on paper is he going to do better than TRock? I think he'd have to angle him down, right? He'd have to take recent topics. There's always topics with TRock, almost fight. Now the easy battle will be a whole new thing, and why that hasn't went down. There will be all this, his relationship with URL. But I watched Geechee Gotti drop the best angle round probably ever in the first round versus TRock, and he punched through it and I think went on to win the last 2 rounds of the battle. So it's just an uphill fight. I'm not saying Real Sick has no chance. I just love the odds for TRock and the situation that he has here. So I'm going to be going TRock 2-1 clear. I know on 3 Letterman's channel I said it could be a 30, and I still don't think that's impossible, but I'm not going to be disrespectful to someone like Real Sick who's been over the moon by far and away, like talk of the night on almost every card he touches for the last 2 to 3 years now. But very possibly could be bad. I'm not sure which battle we battle tonight. I'm going to go with the dark horse pick and say John versus Fonz. I know people don't believe in it like I do, but I think it'll be that good. But if it is a Real Sick versus TRock, a lot of people are already trying to say it's for sure going to be in that conversation. So I'm cool with being wrong if it goes down that way. But I got TRock winning the battle. And then main event of the night, Geechee Gotti versus T-Rex, which, Rex in New York I think is always main event worthy. Geechee Gotti's a top 5 battle rapper ever, humongous name. It makes sense. URL announced last year they were going to put the battle together, so it's not one that just pops off the page, not a grudge I was waiting for, but Geechee and Rex are humongous names. They've been talking about locking in, and then Rex in New York. All this makes sense on paper, how it fills out to be the main event of the night. There is an avenue where the battle's not great unless they have it go earlier in the night. I'm a little bit worried about Rex on a big stage as is, even in a run where he's been so much better the last couple years than he was the 10 years before. Good versus Big K, great versus Chess, great versus Chilla Jones, very good versus Bad News. I even like the twerk battle that happened at like 1 a.m. on T-Top's card in Brooklyn. But when you get on the bigger stages, the RumNiti performance going back, the rematch a couple years, loses his breath. In that first round versus Chess, when they first did on the stage, he looked like he was going to get smoked. Bad News was on the stage, but there was like 50 people in the building, so I'm not counting that. So I'm worried about breath control, certain things with Rex later in the night, but if it's able to go middle of the card, I think it could end up being a good battle. I'm going to be taking Geechee 2-1 either way. I think he'll take it serious, and he showed with the Ilmac performance and the Hitman performance as of recently, he can have his nights where he's not really giving a fuck, smaller card, whatever, but when he really wants to lock in, I think Rex is a battler he respects humongously, influence-wise, all-time-wise. Him and Jazz just had a convo about top 10 all-time battlers. Geechee sounds like an over-the-top Rex fan, and you could see it in his style as well. He's going to be super serious. I just think he's a better battle rapper right now than T-Rex is in 2025. Perfect case scenario, it goes down 3rd or 4th battle of the night. The energy's still up. They get a vintage Rex. Geechee matches it. There is a world where it's a really good battle. I don't see it being battle of the night, but I'm hoping for that. But as of right now, I'm going Geechee 2-1, and the later it goes on in the night, the closer I think it could be to being a 30 and maybe like a Geechee versus Serious Jones type of situation. But that is my full thoughts on NOME 15. A little bit more intricate, long-winded in some of these explanations here, but it's battles I've been looking forward to. Like I've said before, I think 4 of the 6 battles from this were on my wish list. So like months ago, you know what I'm saying? I was asking for what exactly I wanted in NOME 15. So when those battles come, I have a lot of thoughts on it and I have a lot of excitement. But with all my predictions, final thoughts being given, how do you guys feel about the card and what are you predicting? Let me know in the comment section down below. What's your battle of the night? How do you feel about all these guys' first times on the New York stage? Ununice, Jay the Nightwing, Fonz, Real Sick. Which ones do you have sinking? Which ones do you have rising the occasion and maybe stepping up a tier? And then what are your overall predictions on just the card as a whole? I'll go over mine one last time. Geechee 2-1 versus Rex. I have Miss Hustle 2-1, if not 30 versus T-Top. Fonz 2-1 Edge. In my dark horse pick, I think it's going to be battle of the night, John and Fonz. TRock 2-1 over Real Sick. NOME 2-1 over Jay the Nightwing. And then I have Ununice 2-1 Edge. I think that's the underdog pick, but I'm taking Ununice 2-1 Edge over Chess. You guys let me know your predictions in the comment section down below. But it's been Jay Small Reviews again here, y'all. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'm going to catch you on the next one, man. Peace.